In a quaint little town, nestled between the mountains and the azure sea, lived a humble young woman named Emily. She worked tirelessly as a librarian in the local library, a job she cherished for its quietude and the world of imagination it offered her. Emily had always been the kind of person who found joy in small things. The rustle of pages, the scent of old books, and the warm smiles of the children during story hours. Her life was simple yet fulfilling, filled with dreams of adventures beyond her current reality, a world where she could escape the mundane and discover the extraordinary. Despite her contentment, Emily's family faced mounting financial burdens. Her father had fallen ill, and the medical bills were piling up like the dust on the forgotten shelves of the library. The weight of her family's struggles sat heavily on her shoulders, often leaving her restless at night, lost in thoughts of how to remedy their plight. Then one fateful afternoon, her life took a turn when a strikingly handsome stranger walked into the library. His name was Lucas Harrington, a billionaire philanthropist known for his shrewd business mind and a heart that had grown cold after a series of betrayals in his past. Lucas was in town for an event, but found solace among the rows of books, perhaps searching for a story that could touch his very soul. As their eyes met across the reading table, Emily felt an electric connection. Something in his piercing blue gaze challenged her resolve. Their initial conversation was brief, but charged with an underlying intensity that left both of them lingering with unspoken words. Days passed, and the connection lingered in the air like an unfinished sentence. Only a week after their first encounter, Lucas returned to the library, this time with a proposition that would change everything. He approached Emily with an air of confidence, yet beneath the polished veneer, his heart raced with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Emily, I have a rather unusual proposal for you," he began, his voice smooth yet serious. "I want to offer you a dating contract. I need someone to accompany me to various events and make appearances as my significant other. In exchange, you would receive a substantial amount of money, which could alleviate your family's financial troubles. Think of it as a mutually beneficial arrangement." Emily was taken aback. The thought of such an arrangement had never crossed her mind. Who would willingly enter into a contract that could so easily lead to complications and emotional turmoil? But with her father's condition worsening and bills piling up, the offer hung in the air like a ripe fruit, tantalizing and forbidden. Would it be right to put her values on the line for the sake of her family's stability? As the sun set and painted the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Emily stood at the crossroads of her heart, grappling with an unimaginable decision. The temptation was fierce, yet so were her principles. Could she compromise her integrity while hoping to save her family? The weight of the decision pressed against her, threatening to push her into a world she had always seen as unattainable. "What do you think about such a contract?" she asked, seeking not just clarity, but a glimpse into Lucas's cold facade. The question cut deeper than either expected. Lucas himself was bewildered. He had offered her a mercenary chance to strip him of vulnerability, but now he felt a fleeting tug at something much deeper. Little did they both know, that day marked the beginning of a complex journey filled with unexpected consequences and emotional revelations. Before she could answer, Lucas adjusted his shirt collar, a sign of the inner turmoil reshuffling his well-guarded walls. The evening sky darkened, and as they partook in heartfelt discussions swirling with possibility and hesitation, Emily sensed that life, as she knew it, was about to change forever. How would she decide? Would she find a way to embrace an unexpected future, or would she turn away from the potential for both danger and intrigue? The choices ahead loomed large, brimming with uncertainty. Torn between her values and her family's urgent needs, Emily spent sleepless nights wrestling with the decision before her. As the days blurred into one another, she found her thoughts constantly drifting back to Lucas, both the man who embodied the life she had only dreamed of and the cold businessman who sought her as a mere decorative companion. The weight of her conflicting emotions bore heavily upon her, creating a storm that rumbled silently within her heart. Meanwhile, Lucas was struggling with inner turmoil of his own. What began as a calculated business proposition felt increasingly awkward and intimate. He had pursued this path as a way to regain control over his battered heart, a means to fight back against the betrayal inflicted by his previous love, a glamorous socialite named Veronica. Lucas had thought that by wielding power over his relationships, he could shield himself from any future heartbreak. But there was something different about Emily. Her faultless authenticity made him uneasy. Every time he thought of how he had framed their arrangement purely as a business transaction, he felt an unsettling sensation in the pit of his stomach. Were he to go through with the contract, he would be using her as a mere pawn in his game of revenge. Yet, every time he watched her interact with the world, her kindness illuminating the lives of others, his heart began to stir with emotions he had long repressed. Their lives intertwined over several events. Lucas took Emily to galas, charity balls, and even high-profile business dinners. She played her role flawlessly, charming the guests while struggling internally with the contract that bound her to him. It was a world of opulence that she had only entered as a temporary refuge. Each time she smiled at him, her heart felt a pang of contradiction. Was she merely doing her job, or was something more growing between them? Beneath the surface of the glitz and glamour lay a deeper connection that neither of them had anticipated. Emily soon became the center of attention, glowing with grace and poise. But what struck Lucas even more was how she remained unaffected by the fame around her, remaining focused on the root of her being. Unlike the women he had known, who prized his wealth and status, Emily saw him as a man marked by scars, not merely a successful businessman. This realization shook the foundation of his beliefs. One night, after a particularly extravagant gala, they found themselves in the plush confines of Lucas's estate, where a stony silence enveloped them like a shroud. As they sat together on the terrace, looking out at the sprawling landscape bathed in moonlight, Emily finally broke the stillness that hung in the air. "Lucas, I need to understand what this contract truly means to you. Is it a way to heal the wounds of your past, or is there something deeper at play?" Her words hung in the air like a weight, and she felt vulnerable as she awaited his response. Lucas, taken aback, paused. The vulnerability in her voice cracked through his icy demeanor, forcing him to confront truths he had long buried. "Honestly, I wanted to make her jealous," he confessed, pain lacing his voice. "Veronica, she left me for someone with more power. I thought if I could show her I moved on, it would give me a sense of satisfaction." Emily's heart raced. She had expected something along those lines, but hearing him voice it made it painfully real. "But what about us?" she questioned softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Are we just a part of that game?" At that moment, Lucas felt the weight of her inquiry crashing upon him like tidal waves. He had envisioned controlling the narrative of his life through money and power, but he hadn't anticipated Emily's spirit to disrupt his plans. The sincerity in her gaze hit him hard, and he found himself drawn to her vulnerability. "No," he said, his voice steadier now, filled with conviction. "I don't want that anymore. I can't keep lying to myself or to you. This started in a transactional manner, yes, but you changed everything." As he spoke, he felt a sense of liberation washing over him, yet he was equally terrified. The more he opened up, the more vulnerable he became. But there was something soothing in admitting that his plan was crumbling. There was depth to Emily that he hadn't anticipated, and a warming light he had thought extinguished. Her influence began to crack through the walls he had painstakingly built to fortify his existence. Emily, peering into his soul, realized this man was not merely her employer. He was another human with hopes and dreams restricted by pain. "You have to let go of the need for revenge and find yourself again," she advised, her voice steady yet filled with compassion. "You deserve to be happy outside of the shadows of your past." As Lucas listened, a glimmer of hope sparked within him. He had focused so long on what he had lost, but Emily opened his eyes to what he could gain. Their relationship was beginning to blossom in ways he hadn't known were possible. It was more than just business, more than just a contract. There was now a connection unshackled by the constraints of materialism. Days turned into weeks, and each interaction peeled back another layer of emotional complexity, preceding layers filled with defense mechanisms pride, and secrets. Emily continued to bloom in Lucas's presence, excelling in presenting the best version of herself at each occasion, while also grounding Lucas with her authenticity and kindness. But doubt lurked in their shadows. Could Emily truly trust that this man, who had initially viewed her as a means to an end, was genuinely changing? Lucas's past with Veronica haunted them both, and Emily was beginning to fear that his eventual realizations might come too late. During an unexpected encounter, Veronica reappeared in Lucas's life, catching him off guard at a charity auction. The past she embodied sent ripples of anxiety through him. Emily watched from a distance as the two shared a tense conversation, her heart racing as insecurities crept in. Would the familiar warmth of Lucas's past extinguish their budding relationship? Would he slide back into the comforts of manipulation out of fear? As the evening unfolded, Emily felt the pang of loneliness. The fear of becoming just another pawn in Lucas's game constricted her throat. In that moment of uncertainty, she knew she had to confront both Lucas and her own feelings. She needed clarification and, most importantly, honesty from him. It was time to redefine the parameters of their relationship under the uncertain shadows of the past. As the evening progressed at the charity auction, Emily remained aloof, steeling herself against the creeping anxiety she felt toward Lucas's interaction with Veronica. Her heart raced as she watched the two exchange words, their body language intimate yet laced with tension. She felt a sense of displacement in a world that had once felt so magical, now riddled with insecurities as the glitz and glamour faded before her eyes. Then it happened. Just as the evening reached its zenith, Lucas made his way back to her, his brow furrowed and his eyes reflecting something darker than before. He approached Emily with a steel resolve, but at that moment, his past felt like an unbearable weight looming over them. The flickering candlelight merged with the depth of their connection, causing the two to confront the emotional turmoil they had been avoiding. "Emily," he began, his voice steady yet strained, "we need to talk." Despite her anxiety, Emily was relieved he was addressing the discomfort that simmered between them. "I saw you speaking with Veronica," Emily said, her voice wavering slightly, but carrying an undercurrent of strength. "Did you reach any conclusions about your past?" Lucas took a deep breath, preparing to lay bare his thoughts. Seeing her brought back a lot of memories I thought I had buried. "When I offered you the contract, I thought I was enacting control, making sure she couldn't hurt me again. But now, I fully appreciate that I was only perpetuating the cycle of pain." Emily could sense his struggle. "So, where do we go from here? What do you really want?" she asked, her voice soft but firm, threading vulnerability with determination. At that moment, Lucas's resolve began to falter. He looked deep into her searching eyes, feeling the warmth radiating from her soul. "I want to break free from this constant need for revenge, and I want to pursue something real with you." His honesty cracked the tension between them, weaving a thread through the tapestry of their recently forged connection. Emily felt the flicker of hope, yet doubt still danced around the edges of her heart like a shadow. What if it's not enough? What if I'm merely a diversion for you, a way to spite her? Her voice was barely more than a whisper, but it sidled right into the core of her fears. Lucas stepped closer, closing the distance, desperate to convey the sincerity of his emotions. "No, that's wrong. You mean more to me than I ever expected. You give me a glimpse of happiness and purpose that I thought I had lost." As their eyes locked, Emily felt the connection deepening, but doubts lingered. "I need you to understand that our relationship must be built on honesty and transparency," she urged, her heart thudding in her chest. Silence enveloped them momentarily, with only the distant hum of glamour surrounding the event, but their hearts lay bare before one another. Then, the moment was shattered by the arrival of Sarah, exuding confidence mingled with a calculated charm. She was a vision of sophistication, yet here she was, a ghost from Lucas's past threatening to disrupt their future. "Lucas, there you are," Sarah called as she approached, flashing a smile that could charm even the hardest of hearts. Emily braced herself, the sense of inadequacy resurfacing. "Good to see you," she continued, feigning friendliness. "I was just talking with a few mutual friends about how wonderful it would be to catch up, just the three of us." Her voice dripped with sweetness, but her intentions were clear as day. Emily's stomach twisted into knots. She could practically feel the air suffocate around them. "Of course," Emily said, attempting to keep her tone even, but the tremor beneath was unmistakable. Lucas faced both women, caught in the brewing storm. "I appreciate the suggestion, Sarah, but this evening was meant for charity. As much as you'd like to reminisce, this night isn't about us." Lucas's voice was firm, exuding the authority he had mastered in the boardroom. Disappointment flickered across Sarah's eyes, but she masked it effortlessly. "Relax, Lucas. I'm only suggesting an old tradition of ours," she replied, the undercurrent of manipulation evident in her words. Emily felt the intensity of the room magnify. Each second felt like an eternity. Sensing Emily's discomfort, Lucas gently took her hand, a simple gesture that seemed to anchor them together amidst the chaos. The gesture mattered, yet the vulnerability of that moment felt precariously balanced. After Sarah excused herself, Lucas turned toward Emily, his voice low. "I swear, I am done with that part of my life. She doesn't define me anymore." He squeezed her hand tighter, and Emily's heart surged with hope. Yet the gravity of their existing contract still loomed around them. Despite her longing to believe him, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that their connection was still tenuous due to the underlying agreement. "I appreciate that you are trying to change, but how do I know that when faced with your past, everything won't shatter?" Lucas, frustrated yet resolute, ran a hand through his hair. "I recognize my flaws, and I'm committed to stepping outside the traps that define me. But I need your trust, and I need to show you that our connection transcends that agreement." Their conversation flowed like a river, meandering through the complexities of vulnerability, where Lucas needed to show Emily that his yearning for her was not merely a convenient distraction, but a genuine desire for connection. Days turned into weeks, and as they navigated this delicate relationship, tension transformed into deeper understanding. Emily's presence softened Lucas's hard edges. He found solace in her laughter, sought her wisdom during times of uncertainty, and discovered kindness in her perspective. Each moment they spent together chipped away at the coldness surrounding his heart, revealing warmth that hadn't existed in years. But in the shadow of their delicate dance, the past still loomed, piercing through at the strangest of times. One quiet afternoon, Emily sat alone in the library, reflecting on their complicated relationship when Lucas arrived unexpectedly. She had been contemplating the nature of their connection, the disposable quality of the contract ever looming like a reach of dark clouds. "Emily, can we talk?" Lucas asked, his voice reminiscent of a lonesome child yearning for connection. She nodded as they moved to a quieter corner, the familiar scent of books wrapping around them like a soft embrace. "I need to be honest about where I'm at," he continued, taking a deep, steadying breath. "Veronica offered to come back into my life, not as a lover, but in a way that felt familiar and comforting." He paused, looking into her eyes as concern flashed across her face. "I just wanted you to hear it from me." A swell of emotions coursed through Emily. Hurt, disappointment, and the ever-present fear that Lucas might slip away into the distant thrum of familiarity. "So you're considering it?" She felt compelled to ask, her voice steady even as her heart raced. "No, not at all," he exclaimed, taking both of her hands in his. "This isn't a reflection of my feelings for you. It's a symptom of my journey to break free from the past and figure out what is real. I want us, but I need to show you that I can reject the past that hurt me." As he spoke, Emily felt the walls around her heart waver. Sometimes, strength could emerge amidst vulnerability, and she saw that Lucas may have the courage to fight for them. Trusting moments lay ahead, but they would have to weather the storm together, confronting the demons of both the past and future. Hope fluttered gently inside her, light dimming the shadows of doubt as she took a deep breath, realizing the intricacies of love often lay beyond the reach of contracts. As the days unfolded, Lucas and Emily's bond intensified, marked by vulnerability and quiet understanding. They navigated the fragile terrain of their relationship with painstaking care, each moment sowing the seeds of love while wrestling with the shadows of their pasts. However, the specter of Lucas's former life continued to creep in, particularly with Veronica's persistent attempts to reestablish contact. Each time Emily turned on her phone or entered a room, she would catch snippets of Lucas's daily struggles, revealing the constant bombardment he faced. It was both empowering and debilitating. Love should be a fortress against the past, but its jagged edges often felt like a prison. At times, fear and tension clashed with newfound love, creating an emotional battlefield that left Emily questioning everything. One afternoon, under the expansive sky painted with hues of gold and orange, Emily decided enough was enough. They were attending a local fair. As laughter filled the air with the sweet scent of cotton candy, she couldn't ignore the pang of insecurity gnawing at her insides. "Lucas," she said, her voice firm yet trembling, "we need to address Veronica. We can't keep pretending this isn't affecting us." He turned to her, a look of solemnity, replacing the joy flickering in his eyes. "I agree. I was hoping we could maintain a distance until I found the right moment to cut ties completely." His words were weighted by sincerity. "But I recognize that it's unfair for you to bear the burden of my past while we try to build something new." As she watched the playful lights of the fair dance under the twilight sky, Emily felt a love for him she didn't quite understand yet. "This isn't an easy conversation, but I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm willing to work through this. Just let me in." Her voice was steady, and she could feel the strength rising within her. That evening became a turning point. They cuddled amidst the chaos of the fair, navigating through games and attractions, finally taking refuge on a bench surrounded by laughter. Lucas, draped in vulnerability, shared his truth with Emily. "Veronica and I shared a life built on ambition and success, but that life was empty, fabricated. You're different, Emily. When I'm with you, I feel alive. It's terrifying yet exhilarating. I don't want to lose what we have." As the confession hung between them, Emily felt a warmth enveloping her heart. "Then let's confront it head on," she suggested. "You need to let her go, Lucas, and show me your commitment." "I will," he promised. "I'll call her tomorrow." No more hiding in the shadows. The newfound resolve sparkled in his eyes as they locked gazes. Emily reveled in the connection she had with Lucas, forged through honest conversations. They promised to never forget the growth they achieved together. However, the next day ambushed them. As they gathered for dinner at one of those illustrious restaurants, made infamous by breathtaking views and extravagant dishes, the atmosphere shifted abruptly. Suddenly, Veronica appeared like a storm cloud, disrupting the calm they had felt. Grand gestures and all eyes upon her. Her dress was a cascade of silk, a calculated move intended to draw Lucas back into her orbit. "Lucas, darling," she exclaimed, her voice dripping with feigned affection. Emily's heart sank. The royal treatment she received last night now felt futile. The juxtaposition brought forth an overwhelming urge to retreat. But today, armed with bravery, they held to one another, an unbreakable promise wrapping around them. "Veronica," Lucas greeted her, his voice steady but filled with tension. "I thought we agreed not to contact each other anymore." "Oh, come on. You can't really expect me to act like we don't have a shared history," she retorted, her charm distinctly poisonous. "I just wanted to see you, to reclaim what we had. And yet, here you are with her." Emily bristled not from insecurity, but from a newfound strength. She could sense Lucas's frustration. He met her gaze and, fed by purpose, finally stood his ground. "That's precisely the issue, Veronica. I need to move on, and I found someone meaningful." He presented Emily with pride, allowing her to bask in the brilliance of their shared love, a developing masterpiece. Confrontation danced in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. Emily took a deep breath, leaning into Lucas's side as they merged their strength into one. "Lucas is right," she spoke, her voice unwavering. "He deserves a future unburdened by the past." The realization settled heavy on Lucas. He had fought for this, and with Emily by his side, he felt stronger and more vulnerable than ever before. He could walk away from Veronica while nurturing something real with Emily, a bond that was vibrant, significant, and possibly life-changing. All of this ran through his mind as he watched Veronica's face shift from confidence to disbelief. Is this really what you want? A life loaded with heartache and unpredictability, she pressed, her mask slipping. Emily stepped forward. I think it's time you accepted the truth. You can't own someone who has moved on, she stated firmly, compassion weaving through her words. She recognized this moment was pivotal not just for Lucas, but for herself as well as a defining character of resilience. The ensuing silence was heavy, a cocoon that became the backdrop of their shift. Lucas inclined his head, turning the tide with each word he uttered. This is my life now, my choice. I'm ready to prioritize what matters. As the charm of the restaurant dimmed, Emily and Lucas slowly withdrew from that space, hand in hand, feeling unfettered by the weight of his former life. Despite the uncertainty that lay ahead, they found comfort in shared glances that spoke volumes that could drown out the noise around them. Days rolled over into weeks, and the dust of their confrontation settled. Lucas and Emily molded their lives together, finding joy in simple moments while still nurturing their romance. Lucas confronted demons lingering from his relationship with Veronica, as Emily stood by his side every step of the way. Their communication deepened after each interaction. They learned to navigate the unfamiliar landscape of love founded in trust. Then, one evening, they found themselves at a favorite spot by the coast, watching the sun sink below the horizon. The colors blazed like a masterpiece unfurling before them. Lost in the magnificent hues, Lucas took Emily's hand, grounding her in the moment. I never thought I could feel this way again. You pushed me to find parts of myself I thought were forever lost. Emily smiled, warmth spreading through her heart. Every path we traverse is transformative. We're both learning as we go, and it makes all the difference. Turning serious for a moment, she continued. You have to promise me something, though. No more hiding from your feelings, Lucas. I want honesty and openness. He nodded, squeezing her hand. I promise you that. We're no longer bound by the past. We're moving forward. And in that breathtaking moment, illuminated by the fading light, Lucas leaned in and pressed his lips against hers, a promise sealed by tenderness and dedication. They kissed, every frustration, insecurity, and shattered glimpse of the past fading as they finally set free the chains of their former lives. With love blossoming between them, wrapped in hope, they embraced the limitless possibilities of their shared future. The journey had been fraught with struggles, yet together they had come out the other side. The world around them faded away, so they could exist solely between those two souls. As they looked into one another's eyes, there was no need for contracts or regrets, just a strong foundation laid by the most unexpected force of all, love. Would you have the courage to embrace your own truths in the face of love? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more transformative stories. Share your thoughts in the comments on a scale of 0 to 10. What would you rate this story? If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next video.